Don't sue me, Mr. Kitty. I had to let that ride for a sec. I love that song. I don't know why. What's going on, everybody? I am back, coming to you with another solo cast today. I'm going to be talking about the Great Awakening and what I think it entails and how I've seen it actually become this multifaceted chrysanthemum that has bloomed and embedded itself into every aspect of the world we are seeing today, including the world stage, the world population. I'm going to get into a little bit too what I think the whole gender displacement thing has to do with also. Me and Joe were actually talking about this the other day and came up with a really good theory. So back in 2008, young 20-year-old Steve, me, we were in the financial recession of 2008. Not only this, but many other things led to my Great Awakening. I remember sitting there like going, why is our financial system always so messed up? Why is there always this issue? So I got to learning about how our financial system works, and I realized, I was like, Jesus, if this was common knowledge, the whole United States population would be noping the fuck out real fast. It would be. Because how our financial system works, since the gold standard was suspended, we go to the Federal Reserve, we ask them for money, they create it out of thin air and loan it to us at interest. If you don't smell bullshit from that, I don't know what to tell you. But that's what I found out. That, amongst a lot of other things, led to my Great Awakening. I decided it was time to stop being the skinny, fat doughboy I was and get into shape. Start whipping myself into shape, start training, start taking my physical fitness to a decent level. And now I'm sitting here where I'm almost, I'm even being modest saying this. People who know me have seen my medal and things like that. I'm moving into the elite lifter category now. I'm boasting in almost 3 times my body weight deadlift. And that's, I look back at that and I'm really grateful I started. We could just put it that way. But one thing on my fitness journey that kind of led to the awakening too was I was sitting there and I'm like, why is all the cheap food really freaking bad for you? But all of the organic stuff, like the whole fruits and veggies and stuff like that, is super expensive. What's going on? And that's a rabbit hole for another podcast, to be 100% honest, because I could sit there and tell you the disgust that is our food system, that is the USDA, that is, Monsanto and all of that stuff, man. It is just a whole disgusting situation, which we'll get into. But over the years of being on this awakening, back in 2008, I was one of the only ones. There was maybe a few of us. There was probably more, but people were more quiet about it back then than we are today. Because back then, people were still under the guise that everything was for our best interest. Everything was for the good of man and the good of society. But, anybody with plain sight can see that it is the exact opposite case. So I've been seeing the Great Awakening manifest itself in many different versions. The toppling of the control structures, which has kind of been a thing going on now for the past decade or so. It started to really gain momentum before COVID, which is why one of the reasons I believe a lot of the lockdown measures were implemented was because there was a Great Awakening occurring. People were standing up. People were getting tired of it. And now what was funny is the lockdowns and everything else that's been going on really woke more people up. I had people calling me, back in that time, about a couple years ago, going, Steve, we used to really think you were off base, but man, we're on your side now. And I was like, I don't want to hear I'm right. I just want to hear you're on board. And that goes to anybody who goes through the awakening, listens to my podcasts, listens to, anybody who talks about this kind of stuff. We don't want to hear you're right. We just want to hear you're on board. That's all. And that's the number one thing I want to implement to my listeners too, is then to tell you, like, even if you're just in the beginning phases of your journey, and some of this stuff might seem far-fetched to you, and like, I just want you to know that I'm here for you. Okay? It's a really big egg to crack. So not only the toppling of the control structures, it's been actually showcasing itself in a lot of arts and music as well. Now, I don't know, some of these artists I know are on spiritual paths or spiritually sovereign who write music about this awakening. Others I'm not so sure, but it's very interesting to see it embed itself almost in the art and the music, the creative facet of the human consciousness. So it's really interesting to me. I find it really cool. I find it awesome. I think it's an amazing thing to watch this multifaceted chrysanthemum bloom into this wonderful new world we're going to be walking into soon. So I'll touch base on what I think ascension is before I go any further. So a lot of people on their spiritual paths and their spiritual journeys talk about ascension. I do not think ascension is we're all going to all of a sudden appear in this lofty different realm, in this different world. I think once a lot of us reach that point, as a collective, we could do something like that. But in all reality, I'm going to take Alchemist from Gaia TV's definition of ascension. And ascension is bringing your higher self and the universal source consciousness into the being you are right now. So I resonate with that definition so much because it's the more pragmatic version of ascension. And what I've kind of started to see is that, pragmatism, as some people might think, is as nonchalant as it is, it really works. And that's where you'll hear me talk about higher dimensional pragmatism in some of my other shows coming up when we dive into stuff like that. But seeing the Great Awakening embed itself in the arts and the music, and it's just a beautiful thing to witness. And we're on the right path, guys. We are. Don't let them beat you down. Do not listen to the media. Okay, we are doing this. We're rising up. It's gonna be a siege, not an ambush, though. And I think a lot of people are expecting a French Revolution. So obviously that's what they want. They would like a French Revolution because then there's a reason to implement some draconian measures to try and keep the dissidents at bay, quote unquote. So I do think the gender identity stuff has a lot to play into this as well. Now, I will not touch on that because in the spiritual community, we are a diverse group of people, all from all walks of life. I've always held the premise that as long as you ain't taking from me or mine or hurting me or mine, I don't care what you do. And that's kind of where I will stand on that topic. But I do believe a lot of this gender and the trans movement and all stuff like that too is kind of like the masculine and the feminine energies fighting it out until they reach this collective balance. And that in and of itself is a very interesting thing to see, that just all of the different aspects of this great awakening just starting to pour forth through the veil into our conscious energy, into our collective unconscious and things like that. And it just makes me really excited. It makes me really excited for the next decades to come to see what revelations come forth. Now archaeologists are openly admitting that human civilization as we know it may be older than 6,000 BC. Shit, it might be 40, 50,000 years old, even greater. And I think that's something I'm very big on, is our history and our past. And I believe a lot of it is hidden from us. I believe a lot of it is kept under wraps and not disclosed because let's entertain the fact that there is a different history, a very empowering one. There would be a massive decentralization of power which if we all found this out and this was all common knowledge, there would be massive decentralizations of power all over the globe. The governments would not be as they are right now. Religion would not be as it is right now. It would be decimated and something new would come forth. And that in and of itself is every reason why they would lie about it. And that's one thing we're going to touch base a lot. A lot of people would go, Steve, why would they lie? Well, do you want the top 5 reasons or the laundry list? Because number one reason the media and the establishment lies, money being one. Okay, people could debate me on money being one of the top reasons or maybe a second tier reason. There is also control. When you have a centralization of power, human beings fall prey to their psychological conditions and their psychological schemas, meaning that all governments start out altruistically. They do. But over time, because of those conditions and the few in charge of the many, it deteriorates to an ego-driven power type of establishment. And we can see this collectively throughout history, time and time again. And a lot of people want to go, well, Steve, you can't always base things on the past. But here's the thing. When human psychology and the human condition has not changed since the date of our inception, you can expect similar results. They might not be the same, but they're going to be very similar. And you can guarantee that. So that's where I'm going to leave it on this one, you guys. I'm really grateful and really happy to be alive in these times, because we are on the cusp of something magnificent. We are on the cusp of entering this brand new ideology, this brand new way of being that is ultimately going to transform us for the better. Until next time.